Hello, good people. This is Emmanuel Safali bringing you the Promise Show, as always. And this time round, I want to talk about a unique subject, more about our culture code as a people. We are a victim of shock so many times. And in this lockdown, in this new normal, I have had a chance, of course, being at home for most of our time, because now we spend about 95% of our time at home, working from home, and I believe you are also doing the same. I have seen, of course, you have time to read and understand and internalize some things, and you try to reshape the way you see life. So in that time, I read something that I wanted us to share to bring my point very well, especially in times of ages and tackling the helplessness that is around us, especially when we are away from home or we are at the workplace. We are fearing for what is at home, we are fearing for what is at our workplaces. You don't know what, so you're actually stuck like that. So allow me to just take you through a book, just an excerpt of what Jim Rohn wrote actually in 1996, many years back, about 25 years ago. It was published later in 1999, but it actually, and of course it's based on American setting back then, but it is very relevant in our situation today. So just allow me to read into that just a few minutes from now. All right, welcome back to this Promise Show, and today we are tackling something related to courage, as written by Jim Rohn in his book Cultivating an Unshakable Character. He stated that since ancient times, philosophers have seen the basis of all real achievement, and this is the quality of courage. I can't put it any better than the Greek philosopher Aristotle did more than 2,000 years ago, when he said that a truly courageous person is someone who never fears fear, but who fears the right thing at the right time in the right way. What exactly does that mean? To find the answer, let's look at some specific sources of fear that many individuals are facing right now. First, a great many people today are afraid of what may happen to them financially, and it is certainly true that great changes are taking place in the economy that will have a direct impact on the lives of millions of people. I have heard it said that a corporation that employs thousands of men and women today may only need 1/5 of that many within 10 years. Over the last 50 years, whole sections of our society have learned to identify with a corporation that employed them. That corporation provided not only a salary but health benefits and the opportunity to create a pension fund that would make retirement possible at the age of 65 or even sooner. I think we talked about this some time back, but nevertheless, let's look at what he concluded. We are just concluding very quickly. Now that the relationship between the employer and the corporation is changing, most of the work that used to be done by domestic workers can now be done more cheaply overseas, and companies are taking advantage of that, perhaps simply to fatten the bottom line. In any case, the fear of losing one's job has now reached a segment of the white-collar workforce that has never been faced with it in quite this way. What else are we afraid of? So many people are concerned about their health. Sounds familiar? We talked about this if you've been following this podcast. And they are afraid that they'll get sick because they are not getting enough exercise and eating the wrong things, or because of the chemicals in the air or their food or water. In fact, I think people today are even more frightened of these things than they were in the past, when epidemics of disease and poor sanitation were everywhere. Yeah, remember things like smallpox, there are those pandemics, much as we also in the times of COVID, but there are also other things that are killing us very quickly, and we talked about that in medical insurance some time back. Please revisit that video where, if possible. All right, let's continue again. And with regard to their health, people are afraid of expenses that might result if they become sick or become disabled or the expenses that may have to bear if that may happen to their parent or a family member. So financial fears and health-related fears are two of the major concerns, and we have covered this in our previous topics. So let's get into and he mentioned, the third fear that I sense really scares most people today is a bit less easy to categorize. It's kind of a general feeling that things aren't as good as they used to be, that there have been a loss of control at some basic level of our society. There's a sense that that one earthquake or catastrophe after another, some large and obvious, some smaller and almost imperceptible, have accumulated to shift the foundation of society, and it's going to keep on shifting towards a result that is anything but good. Now, keeping in mind that our idea that a courageous person is not someone who never feels fear, but who fears the right thing at the right time in the right way. Let's ask ourselves if these fears really fit that definition. I think if we look a little deeper, we'll see that what really scares people about this situation is the sense that they are going to be helpless, that all their trust was placed in somebody or something, and now they have been let down and they can't do anything. They are helpless, but remember, you are never really helpless, in the sense that you are helpless, or that you might be if certain things were to happen, or what happened is something we really ought to be afraid of. As we conclude, and that we should refuse to accept such helplessness or fears. You are never really just a victim of circumstances. No matter what happens, you are without options. You are never without options that you can get back on track. It takes courage to recognize that, because it means accepting responsibility for your own future. But I would suggest that we should accept that responsibility, because no one is really going to accept it for us, no matter what we may have been led to believe. Now, of course, the new normal has presented this kind of fears and the risks that we are facing on a daily basis, but we have to take a responsibility. We have to take charge and know that these things, as we are going to see in the next lines, are things that you are bound to prepare for. And insurance is one of those aspects, and that is why we have this channel. Let me emphasize that underlying most fears is the fear of helplessness, of being victimized, or of being blown around by the wind of fate, like a leaf is blown off a tree. But is that a legitimate way of looking at things? To me, it sounds like being afraid of the dark, in which case the best thing to do is to get yourself out of bed and switch on the light. After all, the people who built this country didn't fear being helpless when they faced obstacles that we can hardly even imagine today. I'm not saying that we should all gather around the campfire and tell stories about George Washington, but we should realize that every generation has faced insecurities and has lived with them and triumphed over them. But adversity isn't something to fear. It is something to expect, something to prepare for, something to overcome. A truly courageous person is not immune to fear, but it plays a different role in his or her life than it does for other people. If you are a courageous person, your fears aren't about someone might do something to you or something that may happen to you. No, your fears are about not living up to your ideals, about reacting instead of acting, about not taking advantage of opportunities that are always within reach. A truly courageous person is not afraid of what might or might not happen next week or next year. He fears not making the most of every moment today. A truly courageous person fears the impulse to dominate other people and she leads by helping others to be their best. But there's one thing a courageous person fears the most. Have you ever seen a deer or a goat caught in the headlights of a car? The way the deer just stands there as though paralyzed with the car bearing down. The courageous person fears ever getting caught like that. And a constant part of his or her life is dedicated to making sure that it never happens. In other words, a truly courageous person, as someone once said, fears nothing except fear itself. All right, thank you for keeping attention for this long. Allow me to dive deeper into this topic for today, what I will call the domestic or home owner's insurance package. Since again, I started this topic by mentioning that we spend about now 95%. It has come from about 45% of our time was spent at home, but now it's almost 95%. So how do you insure your home and the things that you move around with? Before we start, I need to notify you or remind you that if you have a phone, for instance, or your camera, I've seen many people coming to us asking that should we insure our cameras or our laptops by themselves. It is not acceptable because there's what we call anti-selection, and that's a discussion for another day. But if you have your items and you have made an inventory of all of them, we can insure such items, whether you own the home or you're just renting. But as long as it comes and we can inspect the home, we inspect the things that are there, that can easily be done. And of course, being a price-sensitive country or a society, we need to see what it will entail. Let me just use this example of someone having a home, maybe somewhere in Masanafu, anywhere you have to mention where you are staying, worth say 300 million, would charge a certain rate of 0.15% for the whole year. That's about 450,000 for the year. But remember, they may have contents, they have furniture, your sofa sets, your art galleries, your things that are really precious. Someone may break in and take advantage and steal them because you're sometimes away from home. We're very vulnerable should anything happen. Sometimes there are so many calamities, what we call fire and allied perils. Things can wipe out your home, It could be landslides. Of course, these are people in the mountainous regions. But it could also be anything that is going to affect the home itself. Yeah. So if you have items worth, say, 10 million, we'll charge 0.75% of that. It's about 75,000. This one actually has the lowest rate. We also have now the all risks for the portable items. These are the laptops, the phones, the cameras, name it. Even jewelry can fit in this. As long as we have serial numbers to them, we have a record to them, we can take care of them. So you give us the list, and then possibly even the refrigerators in the house, the TVs, anything. Try to take time and get an inventory list. Then there is an item that usually people don't take so much into consideration, but it is what we call public liability. And this happens for most of people living in apartments, in gated communities together. Something from your home, or children playing. Now we have children staying at home and they're playing with neighbors, but someone staying on the top floor may throw something and hits the eye of another child. So this is something that public liability can take care of. It could be even your fence, because of heavy downpour, can fall on another's property, or someone's vehicle or something and damages it. Someone will have to sue you for that. So if there is some kind of settlement or notice to sue, the insurance company can come in. It's usually looked at in terms of multiples of about 50 million. This is just a starting point, but depending on the category of your liability and the kind of neighborhood that you have, this value can go higher. But this is a starting point for illustration purposes. But also you look at the premium consideration, is really affordable, 150,000. Last but not least is the group personal accident or workers' compensation for your casual laborers and even your children in this case, in case they get damaged, they get hurt at your workplace. Yeah, you may be doing some work, some repairs, some cooking. Things happen in the kitchen. There's a lot that can happen. We have heard of our house helps getting problems in the kitchen, and it's even taken to the police level. How will you be able to compensate some other things without this kind of package? So this can take care of that. For casual laborers, there's a standard unit about 0.6%. It can go lower for those who are just within the house. So we're looking at a value of about 520 million for such a homeowner. And remember, even though you don't own the own home, you can just cover the contents, the furniture, and you remove the other 300 million. We can also take that on. But for this example, there are of course taxes involved, and this will be about 1.5 million. And remember, should you have challenges, because now the law requires that you pay all this premium at once, should you have challenges paying all of it at once, you can arrange what we call an insurance premium financing facility with any of our banks, who may charge you about 8% interest rate over the 10 months that you're going to pay this premium. So instead of paying the 1.5 at once, you can have an option of the bank paying for you about 150,000, or you pay directly about 160,000 to the bank, and then the bank pays for you this amount. So there are so many things we can discuss here, but I would like to end today with sharing again the quote that my good friend Jim Rohn mentioned, that you should always fear to be caught in the headlights of a car the way that deer fears. That helplessness that comes when you don't know, because you can't tell when these risks are going to happen. But should they happen, you should be prepared and have some mitigation measure to help you bounce back, to help you get back online, just the way medical insurance helped me bounce back to life. And I'm now in front of you sharing these important topics. I can't thank you so much for the time you have spent with me today. Please tune in again. I'm looking forward to hearing from you on the comment section below. I need your feedback. For you who haven't yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe button just below, that button with an alarm clock button. Please just tune it in. And till next time, hope for the best while preparing for the worst. I remain Emmanuel Sanyu Safali, bringing you the Promise Show. Thank you. Bye-bye.